The silent curse. The desert wind was dry and hot. Sand blew in every direction, covering old metal, rocks, and forgotten bones. It was a lonely place where no one lived, except for a strange girl lying near a broken escape pod. She had silver-blue skin, glowing softly even under the sunlight. Her body looked weak. Her arms were thin, her long white hair dirty with dust. Her eyes were closed. She looked like she was sleeping, but her chest rose and fell quickly, like she was in pain. Reed, a young human man, was hunting for rare parts in the desert. He worked as a scrap collector and lived in a small camp nearby. He wasn't expecting to find anything today until he saw something glowing in the distance. He moved closer, holding his scanner. "Is it a crashed ship?" he whispered, but when he reached the site, his eyes widened. It wasn't just metal, it was her. "Wait, that's not human," he said, kneeling beside her. Her skin was cold but still alive. He looked at the escape pod. The door was half buried in sand, broken from the inside. She had escaped, barely. "Hey, can you hear me?" Reed asked, shaking her shoulder gently. Her eyes opened just a little, golden like two burning suns. She whispered something, but it was so soft he had to lean in close. "Don't leave. I'll die," she said weakly. Reed quickly picked her up. She was light as a feather, barely breathing. Her skin started to glow again, only brighter. This time, he could feel heat coming off her body, but it wasn't fire. It was like she was slowly burning from inside. He ran back to his camp, put her on his bed, and gave her water. She sipped it slowly but kept looking at him like she was scared. Then her body started to shake. "Stay calm. You're safe," Reed said, trying to comfort her. But she wasn't calm. She held his wrist with surprising strength and said, louder this time, "If I don't get clapped, I will die." Reed blinked. What do you mean?" She looked away, embarrassed. Her face turned a light shade of blue, maybe her version of blushing. "My name is Zariah," she said slowly. "My body, it's broken. I'm becoming inactive." Reed had never heard of that word before. Inactive? Like sick? Zariah nodded. "Alien girls from my world. We have to bond, or we fade. One by one, we die. I escaped before it was my time." Reed sat back in shock. "You're saying you'll die? If you don't connect with someone?" She nodded again, weakly. "But what kind of bond?" he asked carefully. Zariah didn't answer at first. Her fingers trembled. Her glow started to dim again. Her voice was softer now. Touch, presence, closeness, physical and emotional. Without it, we fade. It's not just about the body, it's about the soul too. Reed didn't know what to say. He had seen many strange things in this galaxy, but never something like this. An alien girl who would die if she stayed alone for too long? He asked. "Have others from your kind died this way?" Her eyes filled with tears. "Many. We call them the inactive ones. We don't bury them. Their bodies turn to glowing dust, and the wind takes them." Reed stared at her, stunned. "You came here alone?" She nodded. "I had no choice. I was thrown away. I was considered useless. They didn't want to watch me fade." Reed stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the sky was turning orange. The twin suns were starting to set. He had never believed in fate, but this felt like something bigger than just an accident. He looked back at Zariah. She was shaking again. Her skin was glowing, then fading, then glowing again. "I don't know if I can help," he said honestly. "I'm just a normal human." She looked at him with deep, tired eyes. "Maybe your kind is the key. I ran to this planet because your species is known for strange energy, strong hearts. Maybe that's what I need." Reed stepped closer slowly. He wasn't sure what to do, but he sat beside her, took her hand gently and said, Then let's try. I won't let you fade. Zaraya smiled for the first time. It was weak, but real. Outside, the desert wind blew, harder, but inside, something new had started, something that could change both of their lives forever. The inactive ones. The next morning, Reed woke up to a strange glow. It wasn't the sun. It was her. Zaraya was sitting near the window, her skin glowing gently like moonlight. But it wasn't a peaceful glow. It was flickering, like a candle fighting against the wind. Reed walked over. You didn't sleep? She looked back at him, tired but awake. I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I hear their voices. Whose voices? Zaraya looked at the floor. The ones who didn't make it. She placed her hand over her chest. Do you know what it feels like? When your own body begins to erase you? Not kill, erase. First, your fingers go numb. Then your voice fades. Then your memories slip away one by one. Until even your name is gone. Reed sat beside her. And this happens to your kind? If you don't bond? She nodded. Yes, we call them the inactive ones. She stood and walked to the edge of the small room. She pointed at the desert outside. I saw the signs in your soil. A graveyard. Without bones. That's what's left when my people fade. A shimmer in the wind. A glow that disappears when the sun rises. Reed remembered the glowing dust piles he saw near the crashed pod. He thought it was just strange rock. Now he realized. It was the ashes of girls like Zaraya. Why doesn't your kind stop it? Why send you to die? Reed asked, angry. Zaraya's voice became sharp. Because we are born with rules. Our bonding age is written in our DNA. If a girl reaches that age and has no pair, she is taken away, quietly. No funerals, no farewells, only silence. Reed clenched his fists. That's not right, that's not life, that's fear. Zaraya turned to him. You don't understand. Our species lives long, but without connection we lose meaning. Our elders think silence is cleaner than failure. Reed stared at her. And you didn't want to disappear quietly. She smiled faintly. I wanted to fight my death. Zaraya walked up to him and placed her palm over his chest. You humans, you don't fade. You fight, you scream. You burn like fire when you love, and even brighter when you lose. I saw it in your history before I ran. That's why I came here, to find someone who could burn like me. Reed looked into her glowing eyes. They were filled with both fear and hope. He whispered, You think I can help you become active? She gave a slow nod. Not just for me. If this works, I can return to my kind and tell them we don't need to die alone, that there's another way. Reed walked outside to think. The wind was dry again. The desert looked endless, but now he saw it differently. He remembered the graveyard, the glowing dust. They were girls like her, not soldiers, not criminals, just unwanted. And now one of them was asking him to help change everything. Suddenly, a voice called from the sky. A drone. Reed looked up. Military surveillance. He cursed under his breath. Zaraya stepped outside, her skin glowing faintly again. The drone zoomed in closer, scanning her. They found me, she said, her voice trembling. They think I'm dangerous. Reed grabbed her hand. We have to move. Come with me. As they ran across the canyon paths, the drone followed. But something strange happened. Zaraya's body began glowing brighter with every step she took beside him. He glanced at her. Are you okay? She breathed fast. Yes. Being close to you, it slows the fading. I feel like I'm warming up. Reed realized something in that moment. He wasn't just her shelter. He was her spark. That night they hid inside a narrow cave lit only by her faint glow. Reed finally asked, What happens if I say yes? If I bond with you? Zaraya looked at him seriously. It means your energy becomes part of mine. For life, our emotions connect. Your happiness feeds me. Your pain weakens me too, but I will live. I will become active. And maybe, so will others like me. Reed didn't answer right away. He looked out at the stars above. He'd come to this desert to collect junk, but he had found something much more important: a dying girl and a chance to change fate. He turned back to her, slowly reaching for her hand, and in that quiet moment, a small spark passed between them. It wasn't love yet, but it was hope. A dangerous proposal. The cave was quiet. The only sound was the slow, steady breathing of Zariah and the occasional crackle of dust falling from the walls. Reed sat at the edge, watching the stars outside. He couldn't sleep. Zariah was still glowing faintly behind him. Every few minutes, her skin dimmed and then lit up again like a flickering flame. She was fading, but slower now. Reed finally asked, "What if I really do this? What if I become your bond? What happens to me?" Zariah walked up and sat beside him. She looked out at the night sky. "You change," she whispered. "Not in body, but in soul." Reed frowned. "That's vague." She nodded. "Because it's not easy to explain. It's a connection deeper than blood. Once the bond is made, I become part of you, and you become part of me. My emotions, my thoughts, our energies blend. You'll feel when I'm happy. You'll feel when I'm scared. And I'll feel the same from you." Reed stayed silent. Zariah added, "Most of my people never bond with outsiders. It's rare, dangerous even. Sometimes it can drive both insane if done wrong." That got his attention. "Wait, insane?" She turned to him. "If the bond is forced or fake, our minds collapse. We call it the spiral. That's why I waited this long. I didn't want to bond just to live. I wanted to bond with someone who meant it." Reed rubbed his forehead. "You're asking me to risk my sanity to save your life?" She looked down. "Yes, but I won't force you. If I fade, I fade. But if I bond wrongly, I'll take you with me." Reed leaned back against the stone wall, heart pounding. A moment passed. Then Zariah whispered, "There may be another way, but it's worse." He looked at her. "Worse than mind collapse?" She nodded slowly. "The High Council of my planet, when they discovered humans might be compatible with us, they banned all contact. They were afraid. Said if too many of us bonded with humans, our traditions would collapse, our control would be lost." Reed's eyes narrowed. "So you mean—" "I wasn't just exiled," she said. "I was hunted. They wanted me erased before I could prove humans could save us." Reed stood up. "So all that talk about helping your kind, that wasn't just hope. That was proof." She rose too, her glow now steadier. "If we bond, and I survive, others will see. The lie will break. Girls who are dying will begin to fight. The old ones won't be able to silence us anymore." Reed understood now. She didn't just want to live. She wanted to break the system, and all it would take was him. "Then, why not do it now?" he asked, stepping closer. "Why wait?" Zariah's face softened. "Because once it begins, there is no stopping. It must complete fully. The ritual must be done in a sacred space, somewhere the connection can be sealed with full energy." Reed raised an eyebrow. "And where is that?" Zariah hesitated, then pointed out toward the desert hills. "There's a place, old, hidden. It was once a bonding site for exiles. It's marked by blue fire. If we can reach it, I can begin the full ritual, safely." Reed looked out into the darkness. "But it's far," she added, "and they'll be looking for me. My people, your military, everyone." Reed stepped forward. "So we'll go at dawn," he said simply. Zariah blinked. "Even if it kills you?" He looked into her glowing eyes. "Better to risk something that matters than stay safe doing nothing." She smiled, this time with real warmth. "You sound like someone who burns," she said. As the sun began to rise, Reed packed light supplies. Zariah stored what little energy she had left in a glowing crystal, an alien device used to balance her body's energy through the long journey. Before leaving, she turned to him and said something in her native language. Reed didn't understand the words, but somehow the meaning reached him. From this moment we walked toward fate. And with that they disappeared into the rising sun, toward the blue fire, toward the truth, and toward a bond that could either save millions or destroy them both. The government knows. The sky wasn't clear anymore. Black clouds rolled over the desert as Reed and Zariah moved across the rocky plains. Dust storms followed them like ghosts. The air tasted heavy, like something bad was coming. They were close to the sacred place now. Zariah could feel it. Every few steps her body would glow brighter, like the land itself was calling her forward. But something else was watching them too. High above, in the sky, a silent silver drone hovered, its cameras locked on the pair. It had no sound, no warning, just a blinking red light. Back at Earth's outpost headquarters, alarms went off. Unknown bioenergy detected. Potential alien threat moving toward forbidden zone. The commander leaned forward. Send a retrieval squad, full gear. If the alien resists, terminate. Inside the cave path, Zariah suddenly stopped. She placed her hand on the stone wall and whispered, "They know." Reed turned. "What do you mean?" I felt it. A watcher. Cold. Mechanical. They're coming. Reed cursed under his breath. We need to hurry. But Zariah didn't move. Her body was shaking. I'm afraid, she admitted. If they take me now, they won't ask questions. They'll put me in a cage, or worse, take my body apart to learn what I am. Reed grabbed her hand. That's not going to happen. I won't let them. She looked at him with wide golden eyes. But if I don't bond before the sun sets today, I fade. There won't be another chance. Reed thought fast. Then we make it before sunset, no matter what. Meanwhile, the soldiers landed near the edge of the canyon in black suits. They weren't ordinary troops, they were Containment Unit 9, trained to handle unknown species. Cold, precise, merciless. One of them spoke into a comm. Target is part human energy, part alien tech. Orders? The voice on the other side replied. Alive, if possible. Dead if risky. Back in the canyon, Reed and Zariah entered the sacred grounds. It was breathtaking. Pillars of smooth, glowing stone stood tall in a perfect circle. In the center was a pool of clear blue light that shimmered like water, but didn't move. Floating lights danced above it like stars trapped in air. Zariah took a deep breath. This is it. The site of forgotten bonds. No one has stepped here in hundreds of years. She walked to the center, her feet glowing with every step. Her energy began to rise. Her body stopped flickering. For the first time she looked alive, fully alive. Reed felt a strange warmth near her, like her energy was reaching out to his heart, whispering, "Come closer." But then, boom, the ground shook. Zariah screamed. Reed spun around. Black-clad soldiers had arrived, guns raised. Their leader shouted, "Step away from the alien now." Reed stood in front of her. She's not a threat. She's violating Earth law by spreading unknown biosignatures, the soldier barked. This is your only warning. Zariah tried to move toward Reed, but a red laser hit her leg. She dropped with a cry of pain, her glow breaking into sharp, unstable sparks. No, Reed roared. He rushed to her, shielding her with his body. She's dying. You're killing her. The leader aimed again. Last chance, move. Zariah's hand trembled. She reached up and touched Reed's chest. Her voice was barely a whisper. If we bond now, I might survive. But it must be real. Full trust. Full emotion. Reed didn't hesitate. He placed both hands on her face. I trust you. I believe in you. You're not just an alien. You're someone. The lights in the sacred place reacted instantly. Pillars glowed. Wind blew. The pool of energy rose like a fountain and surrounded them both. The soldiers stepped back, blinded by the burst of radiant blue. Zariah screamed, not in pain, but in power. Her glow turned golden white, her wounds sealed, her body lifted slightly above the ground. And Reed was glowing too. The soldiers panicked. Fall back. This isn't normal biobehavior. But it was too late. Zariah opened her eyes, and the desert itself responded. A shockwave of light burst from the sacred site, knocking all soldiers off their feet. Their weapons melted, their scanners fried. Then silence. Reed gasped and looked around. Zariah was still glowing, but softly now. She smiled. I'm active. Then she fell into his arms, alive, breathing, safe. Back at the outpost, chaos spread. Systems shut down. The general stared at the failed mission screen and muttered, "What have we awakened? The clapping ritual?" The stars above the sacred site looked closer than ever, like they were watching. Reed sat with Zariah in his arms, her body still glowing, but weaker now. The shockwave had driven the soldiers back, but they weren't gone, for long. Zariah opened her eyes slowly. Her voice was soft. We started the bond, but it's not complete. Reed looked down at her. I thought the ritual worked. She shook her head. That was just the ignition, the real ritual. The clapping happens when our energies fully merge, body, mind, and soul, without hesitation, without fear. Reed frowned. Clapping? That's the actual name? Zariah managed a small smile. Your word for it. Our word is Sharvalan. It means soul fusion through choice. But, yes, clapping sounds funnier when you say it. Reed smiled back, but his heart was pounding. Zariah stood slowly, her legs still weak but steadier than before. She walked into the glowing center again. The pool of light began to shimmer once more, responding to her touch. It glowed brighter when Reed stepped forward too, like it wanted this. She turned to him. The ritual begins with skin-to-skin contact, but not like your species thinks. It's not about desire. It's about truth. Reed nodded. Then what happens? Zariah raised her hand. Toward him. You must let me inside your memories. What? Every joy, every wound, every moment you hid from others. I will see it all, and you will see mine. Reed hesitated. His past wasn't clean. He'd lost people. He'd failed. He had regrets. But Zariah stepped closer. Her golden eyes softened. I won't judge. I just want to understand you. Fully. He reached out and took her hand. At once, a wave of warmth passed through him. He was no longer in the desert. He was in his childhood room, watching his little brother play with toy rockets. Then the scene shifted. He stood over his mother's grave, hands shaking, blaming himself. Zariah's voice echoed in his mind. You carry pain like armor, but you don't have to. Then suddenly, he was in her memories. Dark corridors, shivering girls with glowing skin, waiting to die, guards watching. Without emotion, a girl beside Zariah fading into dust, her eyes full of tears. And then, silence. Zariah's voice whispered, That was my sister. Reed gasped. She looked at him. She went inactive at 16. No one came for her. Reed took a deep breath. You never wanted to live alone again. No, Zariah whispered. I wanted to live fully. I wanted someone to see me. She stepped forward. Do you see me now? Reed nodded. Yes. Their hands pressed together again. And then, the true clapping began. Light surrounded them. But this time it wasn't just glow. The ground trembled softly. The air shimmered with rings of golden symbols, ancient alien runes forming in circles around them. Zariah began to rise again, but this time, Reed rose with her. They hovered a few inches off the ground, facing each other. Their eyes locked. Then their foreheads touched. The glowing ring spun faster. Zariah spoke the final words of the ritual in her language. Sharvalantan, my soul to yours. Reed didn't know the words, but he understood their meaning. He replied simply, "You're not fading anymore, not while I'm here." In a sudden burst of light, they clapped, not hands, not bodies, souls. The ritual sealed. When the light faded, they both collapsed onto the sacred floor, breathing, sweating, alive. But something had changed. Zariah's glow was no longer flickering. It was steady, beautiful, radiant, and Reed felt lighter, as if a lifetime of sadness had lifted from his shoulders. Far away across the galaxy, something strange happened. Other inactive girls, exiled, dying, suddenly began glowing. Faintly at first, then brighter. It was as if something deep in their biology had been unlocked. Something ancient. Something forbidden. Zariah sat up slowly and looked at Reed. It worked. He reached for her hand. We really clapped. She laughed. Yes, we did. But their joy was short-lived. From the edge of the canyon came the sound of engines. The military had returned, but this time, Zariah was ready, and she was no longer alone. She chose him. The light from the clapping. Ritual still shimmered on the sacred ground. Reed lay on his back, heart pounding. Every breath felt like it carried more than air, like it carried her. Zariah sat beside him, eyes wide, glowing brighter than ever. But this time her glow wasn't wild or unstable. It was controlled, balanced. Alive, I feel full, she whispered. Not just alive, connected. Reed smiled, still catching his breath. You're not fading anymore. She looked at him gently. I'm not fading because of you. Their moment was quiet. But the desert was not. Engines roared in the distance. Black dropships descended again, surrounding the sacred site with weapons drawn. Soldiers stepped forward in thick armor. But this time they weren't shouting warnings. They looked nervous. The energy from the clapping was still active, pulsing through the stones, feeding into Zariah like fuel. The commander stepped forward and spoke through a megaphone. Human male. Step away from the alien. This is a Class B biothreat. The girl is to be detained. Immediately. Reed stood slowly. She's not a threat. She's proof that bonding works. You can't stop this. But the commander wasn't listening. Backup is already en route. We'll extract both of you if necessary. Dead or alive. Reed clenched his fists. Zariah stood behind him, her body radiating calm fury. I won't go with them, she said firmly. If they take me, they'll tear the bond apart. It'll kill me and maybe you too. Reed turned to her. Then we run again? Zariah shook her head. No, I'm done running. She stepped past Reed and raised her hand toward the soldiers. Glowing alien symbols formed around her wrist. This is the power of Sharvalan. The full bond. Not a weapon, but a warning. Touch me, and every girl like me will awaken. We are no longer dying in the shadows. The soldiers hesitated. They scanned her. Their systems began to glitch. Her energy signature didn't match any known profile. It was new. The commander raised his weapon, and then froze as his visor cracked from the force of Zariah's glow. Then, another ship landed. But it wasn't Earth's. It was hers. A sleek silver alien ship hovered over the canyon, shaped like a crescent moon, humming with strange energy. Zariah turned toward it and narrowed her eyes. They followed me across stars, my people. The ramp lowered. Several tall alien figures stepped out in ceremonial robes. Their leader, an elder with glowing marks across his face, looked straight at her. You survived. Zariah didn't smile. I clapped. Gasps echoed among them. The elder said, That's not possible. No outsider has ever succeeded. Zariah walked forward slowly. He didn't force it. He didn't trick me. He stood with me. And I chose him. She turned back and pointed at Reed. I could have faded like the others, but I didn't. Not because I'm different, but because someone believed I was worth saving. The elder frowned. This breaks our traditions. Your bond is illegal. It must be undone. Zariah stepped closer, her voice rising like thunder. Then undo it yourself. Touch me, and see what happens. The elder hesitated. He reached out, then stopped. His hand trembled. The glow from Zariah's skin sparked a force that knocked him backward. He staggered, shocked. Zariah stood tall now, glowing, alive, fierce. The inactive ones weren't broken. We were never given a choice. She turned to the soldiers. To Earth. I am not your enemy. But if you try to tear this bond apart, you'll create one. The commander lowered his weapon slowly. She's not lying, one soldier whispered. We scanned her. Her DNA is stabilizing. It's curing something. The elder alien finally bowed his head. You have changed the bond, Zariah replied. No, we have changed the future. The next morning, Reed sat at the edge of a cliff, looking down at the desert that once tried to bury them. Zariah walked up behind him and sat beside him. Her glow was calm now, almost quiet. What happens now? He asked. She smiled. We go home. He looked at her. To your planet? She shook her head. No. I mean wherever you are. That's my home now. Reed blinked, surprised. You're staying? She nodded. I was thrown away by my kind. You gave me a reason to fight back. I don't want to just be alive. I want to live beside the one who helped me shine. She reached for his hand. And if I ever fade again, promise me you'll remind me of who I am. Reed squeezed her hand gently. I'll do more than that. I'll stand with you, even if the whole galaxy tries to pull us apart. And for the first time in her life, Zariah didn't feel like a dying girl. She felt like a choice made right. The girl who lit the stars 1 year later. The stars above planet Sindera looked different now. They twinkled with more colors, more life. And somewhere in the middle of it, all a tiny station floated silently, just above the planet's orbit. It was called Hearthlight. Inside it, Reed was cooking breakfast. He cracked 2 alien eggs into a small silver pan while music played softly in the background. Not far behind him, Zariah stood beside a glowing window, her skin shimmering faintly with calm energy. She didn't flicker anymore. She hadn't flickered since the day they completed the bond. You forgot the spice again, she said with a small smile. Reed laughed. I'll forget it again tomorrow too. Maybe you'll keep reminding me forever. She walked over and kissed his forehead. I intend to. Zariah's legacy, the awakening. Across the galaxy. Change was happening. Zariah's survival had been recorded, accidentally, by a surveillance drone that streamed a brief moment of the ritual to a hidden frequency. That footage leaked through space channels and reached others like her. Young, alien girls hidden in exile began to awaken. First one, then dozens, then hundreds. They called it the Spark Rebellion. Families who once stayed silent were now speaking out. Protests erupted on planets where inactive girls had once been, taken away quietly. Hollow messages with the phrase "let them choose" began appearing on every major system. Zariah had become more than a survivor. She was now a symbol of choice. Reed and Zariah, quiet moments in a loud universe. Even as the galaxy roared with change, Zariah and Reed lived simply. They helped others quietly from their station, answering calls, guiding lost girls, helping bond pairs stabilize. Their bond had become a blueprint, studied by scientists and healers. But they never let fame touch them. In the quiet hours, they would still sit on the roof of the station, hands locked, looking at stars like two people who had never forgotten how close death once came. Sometimes Zariah would cry, not from sadness but from release. I never knew a soul could feel this safe, she once said. And Reed, ever calm, would reply, that's what it means to be chosen. The Council's last attempt to erase the bond, but not everyone accepted the change. The old Council from Zariah's homeworld, the same leaders who exiled her, issued a new order. Sever the bond. Arrest the human. Reclaim control. They sent a powerful psychic unit, 5 elite bond breakers trained to unravel mental connections between species. They arrived in silence. They didn't knock. One night while Zariah slept and Reed meditated, the station doors were breached by mental waves, not sound, but thought. Zariah woke, holding her head. The air buzzed with invisible static. She whispered, "They've come." Reed grabbed her hand, but she stopped him. "This is my fight." She walked into the airlock chamber where the 5 bond breakers stood in dark robes, their eyes glowing white. "You cannot stop what has begun," they said as one. Zariah's glow rose higher than ever. "I don't need to stop anything. I only need to stand." They fired a psychic wave, but it didn't reach her. It collapsed before it hit her skin. The bond protected her like a shield of love, trust, and unity. Her voice echoed like thunder. "You ruled through fear. But now we rise through connection. You will not erase us." With a burst of light, the bond breakers fell, unharmed but overwhelmed. And they left. The Galactic broadcast, sharing the truth. The next day, Zariah stood before a small camera, her hands folded calmly in her lap. Her message would be simple. She didn't shout. She didn't accuse. She simply told her story. What happened to her, how she was discarded, how she found Reed, and how the bond saved her life. She ended with words that traveled across systems, translated into over 80 languages. "I did not survive because I was strong. I survived because someone saw me as worth saving. Every girl deserves that chance. Every being deserves a bond not forced but chosen. Let us be more than tradition. Let us be alive." The galaxy responded, tears, marches, poetry, and one planet passed a new law. No exile without choice. Zariah's transcendence, becoming more than just one. Girl Zariah wasn't just a girl anymore. She had become a movement, a healer, a mentor. She trained young alien girls to recognize their own worth. She taught others how to listen, not judge. Some even said she could walk into someone's pain and gently carry it out of them. But to Reed, she was still the same girl who once whispered, "Touch me or I will die." Now she touched others so they could live. Closing moments. A message for the future years past. Reed's hair turned gray. Zariah's glow softened, with age, but never faded. They built a small school called the Hearthlight Sanctuary, where alien girls and human children studied side by side. No bonds were forced, only friendships bloomed. One day, Zariah wrote a letter, not for anyone specific, just for the future. If you are reading this, maybe you feel invisible, maybe you feel broken, but I promise, fading is not the end. Someone out there will see you. Someone will hold your hand without asking for anything in return. And when they do, don't let go, because that moment is where everything begins. She folded the letter, placed it inside a memory capsule, and sent it into the stars. Somewhere far away, a little girl on a lonely world would one day catch that capsule, and she would read those words and smile. Because once, a girl who was supposed to die lit the stars instead.